Hey, what's going on? Today we're covering 6 strategies for building real self discipline. But before we get into the tactics, I need to define the term because when I asked people about their discipline struggles, the answers were all over the map: motivation, distractions, phone addiction, a dozen other things. And while every one of those is a legitimate problem, most of them aren't actually self discipline problems. They belong to a bigger category: behavior change. And that distinction matters because behavior change, getting your actions to line up with your long term goals, has 4 moving parts. There's building self discipline, which is today's video. There's building habits, which makes good behavior automatic. There's designing your environment, which removes temptations before they can tempt you. And those 3 work together. But today is laser focused on just the first one: discipline itself. So let's start with the question everyone gets wrong. What is self discipline and how is it different from motivation? Because people blur these constantly. The cleanest framing I found is roughly this: discipline is leaning into resistance, taking action in spite of how you feel, living by design instead of by default, acting on your thoughts, not your feelings. Put even more simply, motivation is your level of desire to do a thing. Discipline is your ability to do it regardless of whether that desire shows up. And since every single one of us has woken up thinking, I don't feel like it, everyone, me included, you can see why discipline is the thing that actually carries you. Motivation is a guest that comes and goes. Discipline is the baseline that keeps you moving when the guest doesn't show. 6 strategies, let's go. Strategy 1: change your identity, not your goal. I'm putting this first on purpose because it's been the single most useful mindset shift I've tried in years. The idea: when you're trying to change a behavior, stop fixating on the goal, the external outcome, and instead focus on the identity you want to become. This comes from James Clear's Atomic Habits, which I highly recommend. He's got this perfect example near the start. Picture 2 people offered a cigarette. The first says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Reasonable, right? But notice, that person still believes they're a smoker, just one attempting to be something else. They're hoping the behavior changes while the underlying belief stays put. The second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Tiny difference in words, enormous difference underneath. That's an identity statement. Smoking belongs to a former version of them. Once you genuinely adopt a new identity, your actions start falling in line with it automatically because they're just expressions of who you believe you are. And if you want the why behind this, Robert Cialdini's Influence nails it. Humans have a deep compulsion to act consistently with their past commitments. Once you take a stand, even just to yourself, you feel internal and social pressure to keep behaving in a way that justifies it. Your brain hates contradicting its own declared identity. I'll give you a personal example. I've always been active, always had athletic goals listed on my site, but I never actually called myself an athlete. Some imposter syndrome stuff there, honestly. Then I read that passage and decided to just take the leap and start thinking of myself as an athlete, not a guy who sometimes does athletic things. And that one reframe quietly upgraded everything: gym consistency, how hard I train, even my diet got noticeably better. So if you take nothing else from this video, define the identity you want to embody and let the goals follow from it. That's why it's number 1. Strategy 2: constantly remind yourself why. Discipline runs on fuel, and the fuel is a strong why. If you want to do hard things consistently, you have to keep the reason for them visible. The story I always think of here is Jim Carrey. Early on, broke and unknown in Hollywood, he wrote himself a check $10 million, dated 10 years in the future, and kept it in his wallet. Every time he opened it, there was the reminder of what he was grinding toward. You can do the same, lower stakes version. Write down your goal, or better, the identity you're building, and stick it somewhere you'll see it daily. A sticky note by your monitor, your phone wallpaper, whatever. So that in the moments resistance hits, you've got a physical answer to why am I doing this sitting right in front of you. Strategy 3, deliberately embrace discomfort. Here's the reframe that makes discipline trainable. It's a muscle. Just like lifting weights makes you able to lift more later, every time you choose to do the uncomfortable thing, you're doing a rep of the self-discipline exercise. It's a skill, and reps build it. This is why I'm a fan of cold showers. Not because cold water is magic, but precisely because nobody wants to do it. That's the entire point. Standing under that freezing stream is uncomfortable, and every morning you turn the handle to cold instead of hot, you're rehearsing the exact skill of leaning into resistance, and you get better at it regardless of the task. The transfer is real, so hunt for small discomforts to embrace. Cold showers, a 6 a.m. workout, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Every time your brain coughs up, "I don't feel like it," that's not an obstacle, that's a rep waiting to be done. Take it. A quick, honest caveat, because I care about this. The goal here is building capacity, not punishing yourself. Discomfort as training is healthy. Discomfort as self-punishment is not. And if cold showers ever start feeling like something you're doing to yourself rather than for yourself, ease off. The muscle metaphor only works if you're not injuring the muscle. Strategy 4, fix the fundamentals first. This is the one people skip, and it sabotages everything else. By fundamentals, I mean the biological basics: sleep, nutrition, exercise. Here's why they're non-negotiable. The part of your brain responsible for executive function, the part that regulates your impulses and desires, is expensive to run. It needs energy, and it needs rest to work at full strength. Always remember, you are, first and foremost, a collection of biological systems. Right inputs, good outputs. It's tempting to imagine your brain as this separate, ethereal thing that runs purely on willpower and determination. But no, it's an organ. It needs sleep, movement, and decent nutrients exactly like the rest of you does. So if you're running on 4 hours of sleep, never exercising, and eating garbage, that's where your discipline should go first, not into some elaborate productivity system built on top of a depleted brain. You can't out-willpower a body you're starving of its basics. Strategy 5, try meditation. And it pains me to recommend this one because I personally find it kind of miserable to do, but the evidence is hard to argue with. Meditation has been shown to improve self-control. A 2013 Stanford study found that people who went through a compassion-based meditation program came out better at regulating their emotions. And emotional regulation is the bedrock of staying disciplined and making rational decisions instead of reactive ones. The easy on-ramp is guided meditation. Apps like Headspace or Calm, or any of the free videos here on YouTube. But the style I've always practiced, and the one I think builds discipline most directly, is a form of Zazen. I just sit, eyes closed, and concentrate on my breath. When my attention inevitably wanders off chasing some random thought, the practice is to notice that, let the thought go, and gently bring my focus back to the breath. That noticing and returning move, done over and over, is basically a rep for attention and self-control at once. I won't pretend I enjoy it. It's the self-improvement habit I dislike the most, but the benefits are undeniable. Strategy 6, practice building new habits. This closes the loop. Like I said up top, habit building is technically its own discipline within behavior change. But here's the connection. The early stage of any new habit, before it's automatic, requires self-discipline to maintain, which means deliberately building habits is also a way to train discipline. You get two things at once, a useful new behavior and a stronger discipline muscle from the effort of installing it. A few principles for whatever habit you pick. Start small, smaller than feels impressive. Track your progress, maybe with an app like Habitica or Strides. Celebrate the wins. And critically, don't obsess over perfect streaks. Purity is a trap. One missed day is not failure. What matters is the overall trend pointing in the right direction. And as that behavior slowly goes automatic, your discipline is leveling up in the background the whole time. So there's your 6. Build the identity, keep your why visible, embrace discomfort as reps, fix your biological fundamentals first, try meditation, and practice building habits. Notice that none of these is just try harder or want it more. Discipline isn't a personality trait you're born with or without. It's a set of systems and a muscle you train, which means anyone on any off day can build it, you included. If this was helpful, a like genuinely supports the channel, and you can subscribe for a new video every week. I've got a full video on building habits coming soon. There's a free copy of my book on earning better grades in the description too. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.